Today we're taking a look at the Brownells BRN-180. Let's get right in the first 30-second breakdown. That's where in the first 30 seconds, give or take, I give you guys my exact thoughts on this product before we get into the full review. That way you guys can just stop watching because now you know exactly what I say about this product, or you can continue watching, find out exactly what I say about these things in more detail, and it does help out with the YouTube algorithm. So with the BRN-180, this is a really cool, unique style of gun. It's actually a piston-driven gun, which means you can shoot this folded. The buffer spring, what would normally be here on the back in the buffer tube, is going to be inside the upper receiver here. Beckham wants to be in the video today. So you can actually manipulate the gun while it is folded. You could shoot it this way, and that is one of the cooler benefits to the system. There are multiple different calibers and lengths, anywhere from an 18 down to a 10 inch, and this is a 223 Wild. You can also get a 300 blackout and now a 7.62, which is a pretty cool one and one I actually want to build out here pretty soon. This comes in multiple different barrel lengths and calibers. So you have an 18 inch all the way down to a 10 inch, and then you have the 223 Wild, which is this one, and then you have a 300 blackout and now a 7.62. So this is actually a modern take on the AR-18, and that's where you get some of the actual downfalls of the system because they want to keep with that style and the traditional look of that, like the charging handle and the muzzle device. This comes with an adjustable gas system, a suppressed and an unsuppressed, and these do run very good suppressed. So let's get into my relationship with Brownells before we get into the full review. They did send me this upper. I did not spend my own money on it, and I do work closely with Brownells. So now let's get into the full review and go over exactly why I said the things and a little bit more detail. So like I said, this is a modern take on the AR-18, and it's such a cool look, very unique, very different than your traditional style. The charging handle is very cool, how it comes up and has that like arch to it up top there. The whole gun is just sleek and it actually runs very well. I've had very good success with no malfunctions with this gun so far. So like I said in the 30-second breakdown, the takeaways from that AR-18, like the muzzle device and the charging handle, are going to also be its downfalls. We're just going to get straight into the downfalls, which I usually do on my pros and then kind of the downfalls first, but we'll just go right into some of the cons with this system. So the charging handle, as it does look really cool and very unique and it's kind of fun, it's just not super great design. It's not comfortable to use. It's not easy to use. It's more like an AK style if you're going to go to the side. If you have a magnifier, you cannot actually charge it or use it. You'll have to go under to be able to manipulate that. Some optics that are a little bit wider make it difficult to actually use it. The muzzle device, there's just a lot more better options out there. So they could have gone with something better. I know Brownells would have if they weren't trying to stick with that style. So you have to take these cons with a grain of salt because this isn't something they were trying to build specifically to be the best of the best with all these features. This is a rendition of an older style gun, so that if they took away all those things, then you're not really getting the idea of what this is. It's like a retro version or like the modernized version of that style. So you can't completely rechange all the things. Now, I will say there are other options for different charging handles. So you can just pull this charging handle out and buy a different style on Brownells' website if you want to and really change that up. And you can also put any kind of AR-15 like Surefire muzzle device, Q muzzle device if you're running suppressors. So you can change the muzzle device and put any one you want. But for those of you that want this really cool retro modern style, then you're going to want to keep those things. But there are options to change them if you want to. I know a lot of guys will switch out the muzzle device for their suppressors and then run those and they have no issues. So this is a piston-driven system, and for those of you that might not know, you have no buffer tube, which is really cool because your springs are here, and I will actually take this apart here in just a second, but the biggest benefit being the fact that you can collapse this and you can shoot with no issues. You don't have to shoot and then flip your Lawfac tactical folder and charge it again and start shooting again. You can shoot as much as you want in the folded position because there's no buffer tube and spring here. It's all inside here. And like I said, let me break this apart real quick and show you how this system works. Now, when you pull this up and you have just the upper, this is held on by just tension. There's nothing else holding it. So if you were to charge this, which I did when I first got this, everything is going to shoot across the room. And I've done that multiple times because I always forget. So you'll want to make sure you hold that with something here, and then you're going to bring it back, and then that tension is going to pull it off, and you're going to be able to pull this out. So you're going to pull out your spring system, which is right here. So that is what is actually your buffer tube and buffer spring is all right here. So that is how this system is going to be able to function. And then you can pull up here. You want to pull out the actual charging handle, and that's how you would be able to switch it out and change it for something different. And then your actual bolt is right there. So it's a very simple system, very easy to use, not a ton of moving parts, which is cool and always good when you're looking for a system that's not going to have a lot of malfunctions or issues. So then you're going to want to put your bolt back in, and then you can take your spring and then slap it back in there. So that gives you a quick idea of what the internals look like. Now this is a very smooth system. don't know if you can hear that on the mic. But that was one of the first things that I noticed is how smooth everything was, and I really like that. Now, going down to the adjustment system for the gas system, you have two adjustments. You have unsuppressed and suppressed. Me personally, I've never ran this suppressed, but I have heard a lot of good things about this system and how well it does shoot under suppression. So if you guys have a suppressor and you want to use it, I highly recommend. I've heard nothing but good things about this system and not being over gassed or blowing gas in your face. I've heard this is built very well for that. Now, I chose a 223 Wild because I really, honestly, I'm going to be super honest. I did not want to spend the money on 300 Blackout because that was back when 300 Blackout and ammo is ridiculous, and I already have a 300 Blackout that is suppressed. So I would really like to build one of these dedicated just to a suppressor, but as of right now, I'm not going to. But that's why I ended up choosing the 223. If I was somebody that wanted to build a gun that was going to be really quiet and just dedicated to a suppressor, I would probably choose a 300 Blackout in this in the 10-inch. But they also, like I said, have multiple different calibers and lengths. So you can go with the 7.62 now, which is the AK caliber. You can go with the 223, which is this one, or you can just do the 300 Blackout, which is fantastic with the suppressor on it. And then you have, I believe the shortest is a 10-inch, and the most, the highest length is going to be your 18.5. So depending what you want and what you're going to do with this, me personally, I think the shorter the better because of the fact that it folds and everything. So I think a 10-inch 300 Blackout would be a sweet setup. Now let's go over fitment for lowers. You can fit this on any AR-15 style lower and it is going to fit just fine. Now I have a Brownells BRN specific lower, and the reason I went with that is because the benefit of the system is you don't have to have a buffer tube. So why in the world would I have a buffer tube on this if I don't need it? You can have a lower with a buffer tube and it's going to function just fine. You're not going to have any problems. But again, the benefit is that you don't, and you can run something like this. It's much lighter, it's much smaller, and the fact that it's very easy to fold and stow away, and I can pack this gun. It's very thin into a bag or wherever I want to keep it, and it's just a much more better style for this kind of gun. So nothing wrong with running your own normal lowers if you want to. If you have a lower that you built out really nicely with your nice Geisley trigger and everything that you already really like, I don't blame you wanting to throw it on that, but I do recommend building a specific lower with the back mount here, because this is a Picatinny mount on the back of 1913, so you can just mount any style like SV tactical brace. You can mount any kind of stock on there that has this mounting hookup. Now down here on the magazine well, you're gonna notice that it has a kind of odd cut to it. Usually your magazine wells are cut lower down here, but this one has an angle to it. And again, that is your AR-18 style. It's going back to that look. It's just really trying to modernize that without taking away too much to where you can't tell that it's an AR-18. So that is kind of just another throwback to that style. And I think it looks sweet. I like it. You could go with the normal lower with the magazine well a little bit lower, but I went with this one because I think it looks sharp and kind of fits the whole build. So the next big question is going to be function. How does it actually work? Does it have a lot of malfunctions? Does it cycle very well? And I've had zero malfunctions with this system, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I've had a lot of different optic setups and different things. This is kind of what I've stuck with so far for a little while now, but I've played around with a lot of different looks on it, and it's been good for me. I've had a lot of good luck. It's over 1,000 rounds now, because I like to make sure I get to 1,000 before I do a full review, and so far I've not had any kind of weird issues or any malfunctions. I was watching a review video by Grantham a little while back, and one thing he mentioned about this system that he noticed was when the dust cover is down after you've shot your first round, you have this very open system right here that will be able to allow a lot of debris or dust or anything that could cause a malfunction. Is that a giant make or break? And it absolutely can if this is a gun that you want to use for a purpose-driven firearm like on duty or a home defense gun, because that does have a large hole there to allow debris. Your normal AR-15s, when the dust cover is down, your bolt is still covering that entire space and not allowing things to get in nearly as easy. Now, is this going to be a gun a lot of people are going to use as an oh crap gun or end of the world gun? Maybe, maybe not. That's going to be a decision up to you. This isn't a gun that I put in that role. I have other guns and builds that I think are better for that. I think this is just really cool because of the styling and the things it does. It's a little bit different of a style of gun for me, but for those of you that are looking for an end of the world gun and maybe you're trying to decide if this is one of them, definitely something that I think should be mentioned is how that is an open system once that dust cover goes down. Other than that, this system is going to run you about $800 to $1,000. You can also use code TA10 and that'll save you 10% on that order. It'll save you 10% on any order over $150. So anything you ever want to buy at Brownells, you can use that code and save 10%. Hope this video is able to help you make a better decision if this is something that you are interested in, or maybe it's something you want to pass on and go a different route. But you can buy just the upper if you want to and throw it on an existing lower, or you can do the whole setup like this. I think it's really cool to go with the entire thing, especially if you're really trying to keep that look of the entire, you know, 180 style or the original AR-18. So I think it's pretty cool to do that as well. So I hope this video is helpful for you. It's always my goal to help you spend your money in the best way possible. If you guys are looking to help out the channel and the things I do, here's a couple ways to do that. Down in the description are some discount codes from companies that I trust, like Brownells, which that discount is pretty huge because they have pretty much everything. And when you're going to build something like this, say you spend $1,500, you're able to save 150 bucks, and that can go towards flashlight and optic, upgrades, accessories, triggers, anything else you want to add to it. It just helps you save a little bit of money. So that's always helpful. And then there is a link to my website as well. A couple companies that support me in the things I do is Howitzer and Brownells. Howitzer is a clothing brand that actually collaborated with me and made these TA shirts, which is super cool, and I really appreciate them for that. And there's a link in the description for those. They donate 5% of proceeds to charity, which is absolutely awesome. And it's really sweet to see you guys wearing these shirts, and I really appreciate the support. The other company is Brownells. I cannot do all this that I do without them. They've been able to help me do awesome builds like this and help with accessories and everything else. And like I said, you can use code TA10 on orders of $150 more and save 10% off. Other than that, guys, thank you so much. I want to do another one of these. Actually, I want to do a lot more of these because I really like these systems, but I really want to do one in 7.62 because I think that's a fun caliber. I think this system would be really cool for that caliber. And I would really like to do one suppressed in 300 blackout. So I have my other 300 blackout that is kind of one of my go-to guns, and I really like it. And it's built really specifically for what I want and a very good purpose. But I think one of these with a whole folding stock and everything, and how nice the piston system is and how good it is suppressed without being overgassed and getting that gas in your face, I would like to build one of these in 300 blackout. So maybe this year will be the year I do one of those, or maybe I'll just do every single caliber and every single length and get too carried away, which is probably something I'll do. But other than that, guys, thank you so much, and I appreciate you all.